So you're given this question that is on based on fuel calculations, yeah, fuel planning. So it's a piston aircraft, so that's a key point. So there's taxi fuel, which is 20 pounds, cruise fuel flow, which is 150 pounds per hour, hold fuel is 60 pounds per hour. Your flight time is 1 hour 20 minutes. Alternate fuel is 40 pounds. So you assuming minimum fuel uplift. So what does that mean? It means that you only carry the fuel that you require for that journey, the exact fuel that you are required legally for that journey and operationally. Yeah. So normal en route diversions are available, and that we are still assuming. Remember, the contingency fuel is not used en route. So what will be your fuel on arrival at the alternate? So your fuel on arrival at the alternate, you'll have used your taxi fuel, you'll have used your trip fuel, you you'll have used your alternate fuel. So the only thing that's remaining in this is the contingency fuel. So the contingency fuel is usually 5% of trip fuel or 5 minutes at the holding fuel flow. Yeah. So whichever that gives you the greatest is the contingency fuel that you'll use. So our trip fuel, we'll have to calculate our trip fuel, which will be we're flying for 1 hour 20 minutes at a cruise fuel flow of 150 pounds. Remember, on trip we are using cruise fuel flow, but when we are holding or when we are calculating for contingency fuel when we are calculating for our final reserve fuel, we are using our hold fuel flow. So that's a point to remember. So how do you calculate our trip fuel? So our trip fuel is giving us, we know it's 1 hour 20 minutes. So 20 minutes in 2 hours is 20 over 60 hours, which gives us 0.33333 or a third hours. So 1.33 hours times our hourly fuel flow on cruise, which is 150. That gives us 200 pounds for our trip fuel. So trip fuel is 200 pounds. So 5% of the trip fuel. So we want to calculate the contingency. So contingency is either 5% of the trip fuel or fuel used for 5 minutes at holding fuel. So if you calculate 5% of trip fuel, which is 200, you get 10. And then 5 over 60 of this, you get 5 pounds. So ideally, you have to use whichever is greater. So we'll use 10 pounds for now. So why are we calculating the contingency fuel? Remember, we are assuming that you have used a minimum uplift, normal, and route diversion available. Uplift and the normal en route diversions are available, and the contingency fuel is not used. So they're asking us how much will we be left with. So how much will we be left it at the end on our when we land at our alternate aerodrome. So we'll have used all other fuel, but contingency is there. So contingency is 10 pounds. So what other fuel will we have? Taxi, we usually according to what we calculate, we have used it. So we ideally taxi after we have landed, but the calculations that we put in place ensure that we assume that we have used the taxi fuel, yeah, before, yeah, just after takeoff, yeah. So we don't consider taxi fuel for that case. So it's only the contingency fuel and the reserve fuel. So for the reserve fuel, what else do we know about? What other information do we have to know what is our reserve fuel? So the only information that we have that will help us is that this is a piston aircraft. So for piston aircraft, we use 45. When you land using a piston aircraft, you're required to have fuel enough for a flight time of 45 minutes. If it's a jet aircraft, it's 30 minutes. If it's a piston aircraft, it's 45 minutes. So 45 minutes at what fuel flow? So we'll still use the whole fuel flow and not the cruise fuel flow. So the whole fuel flow is 60 pounds per hour. Remember, that was our whole fuel flow, which is 60 pounds per hour. So we'll use that they usually say fuel flow of less than 1500 meters, something like that, but you don't use the one for cruise, you use the other one. Okay, so it'll be 40. So our reserve fuel will be 45 minutes, which is 45 over 60 hours, which is 3/4 of an hour, times the fuel flow is 60 pounds per hour. So multiply by the fuel flow for each hour, we get 45 pounds. So the 45 pounds is the one that we'll have as our reserve, including the contingency fuel, which will be 10 pounds. So we'll only remain with 55 pounds. Thank you. If there's any question, you can ask on the comment section.